Joining me now, Congressman Greg Meeks, Democrat of New York. Congressman Meeks, there are 17 days until the election, and both campaigns are out in force this weekend. But former President Trump has been canceling interviews. The former president backed out of appearances with 60 Minutes and CNBC. On Friday, he also dropped out of a podcast interview with a staffer claiming he was exhausted. Trump's campaign has denied that claim, but we also saw Trump this week stop a town hall to listen to music and wander around the stage in Detroit last night after a microphone failed. The Harris campaign says it's all evidence Trump himself is not fit to return to the White House. What do you think?
I think that's apparent. I think that people close to him understands that and knows that. Look, he's the oldest guy. He's an old man, and his mental capacity continues to decrease. I think that is clear. He cannot continue to string a good sentence together. He seems to, the weirdest thing, as you said, Rev, was him just dancing I shouldn't say dancing because he wasn't really doing that, but hopping up or putting his hands down as opposed to answering questions, not going before the media other than very friendly media. And there's a problem when you go before the friendly media and you still are losing your trend of thought. So there is very clearly a problem with the former president and his mental stability. I think that is just obvious. And so his being fit to be president for another 4 years, well, even if we go by what he did in his first 4 years, he would not be a good person for that. But now his physical and mental disabilities seem to be apparent, and that should also give a warning to the rest of America.
I'm glad you corrected that because both of you know he can't dance. He showed that. But let's get to Georgia, where more than 1 million ballots have already been cast. Tonight, the vice president is rallying in Atlanta, where she'll be joined by the singer Usher. And I'll be in the Peach State tomorrow for my interview with the vice president, which airs tomorrow night on this show. Obviously, every swing state counts in a close race like this. But as Democrats try to maximize black turnout, where does Georgia fit specifically in that effort?
Georgia's huge. That's the reason why you see so many people there. That's why you're going there. The Congressional Black Caucus is there now. They're working around the clock to touch bases with individuals from Savannah to Atlanta and further out. So I think that Georgia, we know, is going to be very close. And we've seen with the election of Reverend Warnock that Georgia can be won if the people turn out to vote. That was a historic vote for Senator Warnock twice. And so it's about turnout. It's about getting people out to vote. And so Georgia shuts things down for any possibility of Donald Trump trying to return to the White House. And as you said, all battleground states are up. I'm currently in Nevada with former President Obama, who will be here tonight, and the Congressional Black Caucus. So Georgia, tremendously important, but we're not leaving any stone unturned. We're covering all the battleground states from Georgia to Nevada to Pennsylvania to Michigan to Arizona. We're going to be everywhere because so much is on the line. This is the most consequential election of our lifetime.
And there's no doubt we saw huge turnout that elected Reverend Senator Raphael Warnock and Senator Ossoff in a state that never really elected Democrats to those positions. Democrats are working hard to turn out black voters for races up and down the ballot. The Congressional Black Caucus, as you mentioned, obviously a big part of that effort. And you're the chair of the caucus's Political Action Committee, working to elect more black members to Congress. As you just mentioned, you're also leading the caucus bus tour, promoting the Harris-Walz ticket in swing states, which kicked off yesterday in Georgia. Describe the reception so far that you've seen.
The reception is fantastic, because we're on the ground and we're touching people. And when you get to talk to folks and talk to them about the facts and what the vice president represents, what she has done and what she will do, it is just the excitement just continues to build. And I think that you see that in Georgia now by the early vote turnout. And they sort of continue to get folks to come out in great numbers. I think they're setting all type of record numbers now in early vote turnout in Georgia. So it has been very receptive to members of the CBC and others that are there. We'll be there tomorrow also, going to the various churches and making sure that we're bringing souls to the polls. But people are excited about it. They seem to, but most importantly for me, Rev, they seem to understand the seriousness of the moment, the importance of this election, and what it means of whether we go backwards or go forwards. You know, being the heart of the civil rights movement, as you know, in the South with Georgia, being one of the key areas there with Dr. King, that's important because this means that while we don't want to go back, because what Donald Trump is talking about, we want to build on Dr. King's dream, in fact, turn it into reality. And how do we do that? By turning out to vote.
Before you go, area that you work in, you're the leading minority leader of the Foreign Affairs Committee. You were chaired there. The vice president this week called on Israel's killing of top Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar an opportunity to finally end the war in Gaza, return Israeli hostages and American hostages, and help the Palestinian people rebuild. The Biden administration shares that view as it prepares to try again on a ceasefire deal between Hamas and Israel, as U.S. support for the war continues to complicate the vice president's campaign with anti-war voters and Arab and Muslim Americans in swing states like Michigan. What do you think happens now, and will it have an impact on our election?
Well, I think that what should happen is we do need to have a ceasefire, and we do need to get humanitarian aid into Gaza. And, you know, Rev, the world is a little different, and the Middle East is different now than it had been previously, in the sense that we've got to work. I know I've been working very closely with Saudi Arabia, with Egypt, with Jordan. All of these are countries in the Middle East that want to have a better relationship with Israel, but also want to make sure there's a better way of life for the Palestinians. They've committed to build or to rebuild Gaza and to make sure that the Palestinians have a state of their own, a two-state solution. And so I think that what should happen now is we need Prime Minister Netanyahu to take a victory lap, because getting rid of Sinwar is a big deal. It's like us getting rid of Osama bin Laden. But now it should also open up that window where we can get those hostages home, understand Israel has the right to defend itself, work with others in the region so that we can have them normalize relationship and move forward towards having a two-state solution, which will then change the region into a peaceful area forever.
All right. Thank you, as always, for being with us. New York Congressman Gregory Meeks.